And hello, and welcome to another Dank Live. And I'm here with Tui. Tui is joining us. I did speak to Tank just before coming on. I said we'll reconvene in 10 minutes, and that was 20 minutes ago. So I guess he got on a phone call or something, but he'll join us shortly, I'm sure. So let's just kind of dive into a couple of things. Number one, we've been focused on Epstein Island. I was showing some of the graphics some flyover shots. It's like, well, that's not what's on behind me, but I did have those things on behind me. So I'm basically looking about these big pipes that are basically used as air vents to bring the air in. There's some big using camouflage green painted the same color the pipes and the building, misdirection from the white building on the other side. I could probably bring that back up because I noticed that those things have changed around. This is the one. And the building is also built to drive on top of the roof. This is not a normal way of building a building, right? Into the ground. It's kind of built into the side. Now you might want to say it's landscaping. All right, but then why do you need to have these large vents and other? So this building is not really the part of concern, right? That we need to look at. It's the one a little bit over. Oh, and Tank has made it on. Hello, Tank.
What's going on?
Just talking about the footage at the Epstein Island.
Yeah, incredible stuff. Actually, we have this much insight. It's like a bounty of so much evidence and obvious awfulness. It's kind of it's hard to.
Yeah. I named my last video for Frontlines. I said, "Is this normal?" No.
No, it's not normal.
It's not how you build, how you do construction, or why would you need to build something like this? Let me put the spotlight on me for a moment, so it doesn't keep changing. As we're going, it's in the background. I have the Epstein Island videos playing, and there's something going on underground there because you don't need to have large, air vents, 10-inch pipes carrying air in and that, and large, other, double door size vents going across. So it's definitely, there's stuff that's built underground. Large. I also was looking at there's large electrical conduit and stuff, big electrical boxes that are going underground. And you count the number of bedrooms on Epstein Island, right? There's not as many as people may think, right? It may be about a dozen. Size of a regular size big family, you could say, right? A dozen bedrooms. I had some friends who had 10 kids, so they'll have like a bedroom with eight rooms in it or something like that, and 8 bedrooms, homes, and things like that. But they don't have these super huge electrical conduit things sitting there, right?
No, of course not.
And yeah, go ahead.
No, I was actually looking at some of the broadcasting equipment that he's got some stuff there to make sure probably to keep connected with whatever, right? And I was thinking about that because there's some pretty dark stuff out there that's available for this this is
on the dark web.
Yeah, like the dark web, like things they'll go and they'll you can choose how a child is abused, or you can choose how someone is murdered or whatever, right? And it's normal. It's like a normal practice because this is part of what, I don't know, gets their adrenaline pumping or something. And it's a whole new meaning to kind of interactive, internet. And I would imagine it's gonna be pretty easy to trace that back to them, because they're gonna trace it back to the carrier waves that are very specific to the cabal. Now, just by following those carrier waves and understanding where does this carrier wave connect and who has access, you pretty much open up everything to see, well, here's your cabal, here's your web of evil, just by doing that. So I would like to see what they do with that, because I know that the Epstein's Island is definitely one of the things that's, according to my sources, I've never seen it with my own eyes, but according to my sources, that's one of the featured areas.
Right, and now they have the Great St. James Island, the bigger island that Epstein owns. They have a what do you call it, a harbor where they have boats that go there and park, and there is a pizza boat there, and you'd place your order for pizza, and it'd be delivered to your boat.
I can hardly think of anything more terrible than the way that they have ruined the good name of pizza, right? Now that, like, every time you go to order a pizza, like, Kim, this was something that Kim, like, we used to have this running joke that, okay, whenever she would talk about people who were transferring money, because all these guys would call up and they would brag about transferring money, and they say, oh, we can move money here, and she goes, yeah, and she'd always say, well, can you buy pizza with it, right? And then she was talking about, like, the food pizza, like real human, not human. See, you can't even say human food anymore. I'm sorry, not food made from humans, like bread, sauce, cheese, pizza. She'd always say, like, can you buy pizza with it? So that was always the goal, right? Like, money comes in, don't even call her, just go out, buy a slice of pizza, take a picture. That I'm eating pizza, right? And now, like, we would have just put that out, but now, if I did, can you imagine how it would be unraveled, right? Like, it's that kind of thing, like, where just the basic normal things have been perverted, right? It's the nature of perversion. They pervert everything that is innocent and pure and normal.
Right.
It's just.
Well, our basic understanding is that the government is there for our protection, right? And that's what our purpose in having a government is to protect from other governments, from other peoples, from different countries. And that was the original, a reason why we're going to have this group called a country, right? A kingdom that's there to over a certain territory. But now everything that they're supposed to protect us from, they've been corrupted by. On the background right now, we have the different pipes that are coming out of the ground. So I guess there's 6 of them. Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. I thought it was 8 of them. But then with these 2 that have the extra ones going up and above. But since they're all painted green, they just blend into the building. So if you're looking at you look at the green and you just ignore it, right? Because it's all one color.
Right.
And,
yeah, it's nonstop, nonstop. So, crazy.
So we know what's going on here now. It's all coming out, and then now we see what's going on with the greater St. James Island. Is there's a pizza delivery there in the harbor. You basically park your boat there, and they will deliver you a pizza to order. All right, so this is how sick it is, right? But it's all out in there, in front of you about what it's all about. So this is true evil that we're fighting. That's what we're the focus is, and they've pretty much convinced everyone that evil doesn't exist, right? It's just another, it's you shouldn't judge other cultures, right? What they do or how they do something. I used to remember this concept when I was young and in college, right? They'd have these things talking about, the Aztecs would do human sacrifice, and you can't really judge them for eating the heart of their enemy, right? That's just their culture, right? And I said, no, I can judge them. That's evil.
Well, yeah. You know what though, like. See, you can also see that there's this is exactly what Tui talked about, right? It's like you have all the thousands of years of Fijian culture, then you have like this little spell where they were cannibals, which is like, a couple hundred years, right? But people will always talk about when they were cannibals, but there's a whole massive, lengthy history of the Fijian people, right? That has nothing to do with that time when they were cannibals. And you can see how, like, that's what happens because once they get involved, they pervert everything.
Okay, so
what is?
Oh, Tui dropped off. Tui was on here for a bit. I was just thinking.
Sorry.
So if I was, in Fiji and I was over at Tui's house, right? And Tui's, sitting on the ground, with other, leaders there, and I was walking over to him and I tripped, right? And while I tripped, I basically, grabbed Tui on my way down to stop me from falling, right? And I end up touching his head. So at that point, I'm dinner. I think that would be pretty bad. I would think that would be evil, but I don't think I have to really worry about that with Tui, right? I don't.
I'm like 85%, like solid 85%. Tui would not eat you. 15%. I'm like, maybe. I mean, he set a standard. He's been talking about it. He might have to just out of principle. Like, look, Dan, I'm sorry, but your dinner. Like the whole world's watching. I'm kidding. I do not believe that.
Okay, well, Tui's back on. Okay, Tui, what's the answer? Am I dinner or? Well, okay, I'm waiting. Am I dinner?
Take it easy.
Take it easy.
Take it easy. Just climb into this pot.
Yeah, but this is the reason why we don't trust each other, right? It's the differences in culture, and we don't communicate, as cleanly through vibration and telepathy. So all the words get in the way. So who knows?
Yeah, for some reason, I think that Tui would kind of let me off the hook on that one. The accidental, but I don't know.
But if that happens, we all the chiefs will be laughing at you. It's
that's
really funny.
Yeah, but would they be pulling out the big pot?
No, like they will all, they'll be laughing at you because that you don't understand what the culture is, and they would like to teach you because no one foreign is eaten, only the tribe because of keeping the alignment of the spiritual energy within the tribe. That's why it's done that way. So anyone that doesn't follow just like how you have the Israelites, anyone that doesn't follow the agreement of the whole tribe is stoned to death. And so for us, it's just not stoned to death, but is actually aligned spiritually as well.
Is there another way of alignment? Is there other ways to be realigned?
It's you choose if because it will be given to you if you wanna you wanna be castrated somewhere or you wanna be exiled somewhere. to an island, or you want to be aligned in that way. But you will have to live with the shame for the rest of your life. So which one is more important to you? But in those days, the words and your words and what you do, this is the only thing more powerful than anything. And so right now we think it's written in language and all this, but words is we call it manna. Whatever you say, whatever you've done, that's expression of yourself. And so if once we get that back, that's why we are very powerful in the past, because words can move things, can do things. Right now we take it for granted.
Very interesting.
So I think you're right, Tank. It might actually be not 85%, might be only be 70%.
I told you. Watch your mouth, man. Watch your mouth. And watch your step too. Watch your step.
So because over here the sovereignty is not just the language; it's also the what you do with your body, and so and on how you think with your mind. So
Okay.
the intention.
Let me ask you, Tui. Can I have your permission to, in case there's an accident, to fall on you and touch your head by accident? Because I want to respect your sovereignty. So I'm just asking ahead of time. We're joking. We're actually joking about something we used to take seriously in the past. But it's hundreds of years in the past when the whole entire tribe agreed to keep those values and those morals and those life. The manna, and then they agreed to put it aside, and they agreed to get Christianity and education and all this, and start writing and start all the physical intellect part of knowledge and all this. So it's in Fiji it's so different now. It's a Christian country. You come here, you touch anyone's head, you won't even if you're chiefs, they'll just laugh at you, just like how I do. Then, so we're back up to 95%. I don't know what happened to the dog. Maybe
you have a vista.
So the cat and the dog, different sovereignty.
It's so interesting because the Constitution is written to the spirit of the law, right? And the whole principle in sovereignty, it's the same principle, right? That the language speaks to the spirit of the law or the intention of the law versus the letter of the law. And the way that we were taken hostage, in a sense, right, is that they brought everything down to this minutia, and then they made contract law kind of overwrite our law. But it never constitutionally had a right to. But then it became to the letter of the law, and they lost the spirit of what was being said. That's so interesting. That's the same core principle, really, with understanding our sovereignty.
Right. You're right. The letter of the law, the small print, basically is in violation of what the spirit of the law was supposed to be all about. And that's kind of what I've been calling like the social contract, right? There's a general social contract where we go about, everyone has the same understanding, but the legalese is all tricking you into something that we don't want. What's that?
Sorry. Yeah, so they're like the first person to murder charge a family because he wasn't read his rights.
Can't hear you. Can't hear you. Hello. Oh. We lost Tank. All right, Tui. Back to you and me. So now, if I accidentally trip and fall on the rooster and
kill him.
Then he can be realigned into.
I'll give you a chance. I will give you a chance to do your recipe for the soup that you always talk about.
Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah. So that's well, the soup is very good. Here in the Philippines, there's a lot of soups. A lot of Asian cultures make soup. Do you have soups in you make soups?
Yes, yes. You'll come and you'll find out that we have a lot of varieties here in the island, and we will see. Came and have the experience of his life, so you will also see the uniqueness of the dishes and what we have here.
Yeah. Well, I'm very. I think we should be there. Coming this week, right?
Yeah.
What are you laughing about, Tui? Is that funny? Is that funny? Should be this
I'm
week.
ready. So what if as soon as you're ready to send for me, I'll be there.
Yes, indeed.
So it's
So, Tui, are the airplanes still shut down going in and out of Fiji?
Uh, Not sure. Uh, I'm. I don't know yet.
So why were they shut down?
They're shut down because of the two people who flew in who died of what appears to be some kind of
Ebola?
well, I don't know that it was Ebola. I mean, Ebola wouldn't. I mean, wouldn't probably kill you that way. But I mean, I heard different reports, and my reports. One of the things. The cabal's always looking for ways to disseminate different viruses, right? So, my understanding is that the potential was there that they could have infected some aspect of the the mini liquor bars, right? And they could have infected those supplies somehow, so that people who were drinking on the flight, they could have got sick. And so that created a problem because then that affects the hotels, the entire tourist industry, and obviously tourists are great. If you want to spread a virus, a great way to do it is to get tourists sick, right? So that they get sick, then they take it back home, they infect everybody they come in contact with, who's also going to different places around the world. So
Yeah, I thought that I thought that was in Fiji with the mini bar thing. I thought that was like was the Dominican Republic or something like that. And then now my understanding of what when that has occurred in the past, that it was someone in the local area making their own local alcohol, right? And they were selling that as a branded alcohol. But when they made their still, right, they would actually. This was a big problem in the age of the bootleg liquor industry. Is they would make the still using lead in the solder when they soldered together the still, and that would actually create lead poisoning effect inside the alcohol, and that literally would make people die from lead poisoning.
it's pretty heavy, pretty serious.
Yeah.
Lead poisoning. I mean, because lead poisoning, the way we traditionally know it, would take years to take effect. I mean, the way I know it.
Yeah, but yeah, there was just because of the process, it picks up so much of that lead that it literally it's worse than eating paint.
Wow.
The lead paint, that is.
Yeah, lead paint, right?
I remember the lead paint
regular
tasted really good when I was a kid.
Yeah, regular paint is delicious. Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
And I thought the yellow one tasted better than the orange.
Yeah, I think probably might have been mental. No, actually, you might have been demented at that point, so it's hard to tell.
Yeah. Well, no, I did actually. There was lead paint on the paint on when I was growing up. There was lead paint still, right? So I do remember eating paint when I was a young kid, but not because I was literally. It was I remember like flashes of doing it when I was very young.
Did you slip and fall into it?
Did I sleep what?
Did you slip and you fall accidentally to the into the paint?
Yeah, maybe
No.
it fell right into the paint. No, I think it was more about the falling asleep on the windowsill, right?
Oh,
It was
yeah.
kind of and then kids put anything in their mouth, right, when they're really young, right? So I remember chewing on the windowsill
Jeez.
and, as a young kid. It's made of wood, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm teething or something. Very, very young age, but I don't know. I could have been like 2. I do get flashes of things from when I was really young.
So,
even being in cribs.
yeah, I'm going to bring that up to Alexandria Cortez here pretty soon. Got a letter drafted up to prove to her that the lead content of the water in the Bronx that's drank by everyone, as well as the various other toxins, is significantly worse than that it was in Flint, Michigan, when Flint, Michigan was all over the news for everything they were doing. And
there's something else on one of that squad, right? What's the name of the one that was Palestinian background?
I can't remember her name, but I know what you're talking about.
The one wearing the glasses, right? But she actually was escorted out of a Trump event a long time ago, right? Years ago.
Oh yeah, sure.
And by Secret Service, she was literally being very foul-mouthed and yelling, and they were really dragging her out of this event. There's a video of it. I believe I saw that on SGT report as well. So, or no, that was X22 report, one of the latest ones. So that'd be something to look at, because how does she go from being thrown out of an event there to now running for Congress, right?
Yeah.
And she's also the one with the famous where she does not unapologetic for her language.
Well, yeah, I mean, she started out her when she became Congresswoman, like, let's impeach the mother effer. That was her opening. Just to let you know what she's about from the beginning. Like, and without any explanation either. It's fascinating to me. It seems like if you were really serious about this versus versus what they're actually doing is trying to program people to believe the same thing.
Right.
They're just trying to get people to program them. That, like, we'll just say this word enough times where, I mean, we only associate the word impeach with presidents, really. I mean, no one realizes you can impeach other, major offices, right? But, that's the goal, right? They just want to, they just keep saying it, no grounds for it whatsoever. And even when it gets voted down, even when it's now 6 investigations, because he just cleared another investigation.
Oh, really? Which investigation was this? The 6th one?
I can't remember what the 6th one was off the top of my head, but I know when I read it, I was like, wow, there's another investigation he cleared. Every time they bring up something new, it gets blown apart. I mean, by comparison to the corrupt, animals have got in there, and he, what President Trump actually does that no one else does, and I think it's really fascinating. He actually he's addressed every time he's been accused of something. Whereas if you look at like Barack Obama, right, and child trafficking comes up about Hillary Clinton, and he's just like, nah, these silly conspiracy theories. He just dismisses it and walks away, right? So we've like come to think like that's what honesty looks like. Oh well, you wouldn't give it so much energy if you're being honest, is what the thought is. But President Trump has taken every single accusation and he's made it a bigger deal because of his reaction. So he allows them to put, to attack him and just to literally spike him, like a volleyball, just a set, and they come crashing down. So I appreciate that. I mean, now having seen it happen now for 3 years, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, he's playing them, right? He knows what buttons to push. He knows what to bring out for and front and center. That's the squad is who he's running against in the election, regardless of who the nominee is for the Democratic ticket. So he's running against these four, and so he's going to make it impossible for them to run to the center. Whoever the Democrat nominee is, it'll be impossible for them to run to the center. This dooms them. They'll have no chance.
Yeah, I agree. So it's good for everybody because it's very obvious they're in control.
Yeah. Well, and this drumbeat about these things coming about whether we're going to have a tribunal that's going to be meant for Epstein, which may be the case. I don't know if you picked up on this, but he was arrested before his feet hit the ground. So he was still on the airplane when he was arrested. So he, just like Julian Assange was carried out of the embassy and he never set foot in English on the land of England, right? He was still in Ecuador when they carried him out. All right. So, the jurisdiction-wise, so Epstein was still an international. So can he now be tried in a tribunal, a military tribunal? This will be interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean, if he's a CIA, asset allegedly, right? Like this is all the CIA's master plan. So why not?
Yeah. Well, so if we take for granted that their plan is unfolding because they can't stop their plan, right? And they just keep rolling with it, despite what Trump is there, figuring that he'll be gone. They're just going to continue down the lines of what they can, and crashing the economy is part of that, right? So it's. I think it's interesting that Trump has built up the economy, and he's also built up the manufacturing base and built up the jobs. So now, if the crash comes, there's at least people are still going to be making money. Right? It's not like they will be left with nothing. There's jobs and manufacturing, and then now they're going up against Libra, which I think is the new Federal Reserve. The Facebook Libra coin is basically just replacing the Federal Reserve. It's designed exactly the same. It's a centralized. It's not a decentralized cryptocurrency. It's a centralized currency, and they have the same private group, private investors that are behind the scenes controlling it. So it's exactly the same, and they're backing it by debt instruments. What are the debt instruments? Bonds. What else? Dollars in your bank account. So they're planning on being a bank, and you basically deposit your money directly with Facebook. Are you going to with that?
It's the first step towards completely doing away with any hard currency.
Right. Because it'll all be there. So you'll be working for Facebook next, right? You'll be paid in Libra coin.
Right. Yep. Well, I mean, this is the all of these versions of cryptocurrency. It's where they, it's the corrupt reality behind it, and it's only because they're starting to expose, like, well, Facebook was really part of the Hammer project, right? To smash and grab all of our information. They build up, blockchain is the greatest technology ever. It's so amazing, it's so safe. But in reality, how safe is anything that is just on a computer, right? It just exists really there, right? So you're doing a record. I mean, it's not hard to modify those records no matter what you do. And I've talked extensively to the original inventor of the blockchain about this, right? And I've talked to his best friend about it extensively. He understands it.
You spoke to Satoshi?
No, David Hayden, my friend David Hayden it's one of his very good friends. And so he understood it and was breaking it down to me for years before it became popular. He was talking to me about it. And he was saying how it was compromised. I mean, like 4 years ago. So, because at the end of the day, anytime you completely turn over your trust, it's not something solid, right? Like if I have a gold coin in my hand, well, a gold coin is a gold coin. I have it, but if I just have a number entered into a computer, well, all it takes is somebody who has a keyboard or a better hacker, to overrun it. So, but I know that they bill it as unhackable, but I mean, obviously that's why they have shell companies, right? So it's like, well, we can track every place it went. Well, the shell company, I mean, they took the country from us. I mean, how much more, how much more do we have to see that deception to be, to change the way things work? We can't go back to the same exact system, right? I mean, they took over our government by writing a contract in all capital letters. I mean, it's like, criminal genius when you think about it, right?
Yeah. No, it is, and that's why it's. I think we have to, all recognize that the laws that exist, the format and structures as they exist. What we really just have to do is build this these new structures, that are the way we interpret everything from what we think the way things are, and then allow the one that's the deception just to fade away. Right. I think it's just a process. It may take a decade, maybe two, but I don't think that. I think we can actually move with the trust in place and money flowing. I think we can move within just a matter of, say, 5 years, that we will have accomplished 60-70% in 5 years. I think we can.
I think that's this is, I don't know if I even talk about this enough, but a while back, Kim basically took the trust and the entire financial system and all the electronics on the planet, and she reversed them, right? So that they were now run by free energy. They're all run by source energy, and the actual quantum system itself. And so she made it so that all of our electronic devices were now emitting source energy, right? And the idea, and the reason why she was able to do it, right, she got like approval from whatever council, is because it doesn't do any harm to anyone, right? So do no harm is obviously above all else. So it doesn't do any harm to anyone. And then people are naturally, waking up, really, because in large part because of that. But, not many people even understand that to talk about it. But if you think about it, it's like she took all the devices they were trying to use to poison us, right, with various forms of radiation and 5G and all this other stuff, right, and just control our minds, and basically allowed us to hear the exact same things, but with the added benefit of absorbing source energy and being able to raise our own frequency and the frequency of the entire planet, and ultimately wake us up more. So when we're hearing the same exact things, they're not the same, and they become more transparent. And I do think that's a big part of why you have this really a great awakening,
Right. Well, I think we are. I can understand, the reversal, right, and making things flow in the opposite direction is part of what we're experiencing. This this realignment of this new reality. I listened to Thomas Williams. He said that as it was at the July 13th or something, we were all the other timelines what were against us are gone. Right, so we're only on this positive trajectory right now, and we just have to go through the cleanup process, take out the trash.
Right.
So that's miraculous in itself, right? To be in this place right now is miraculous.
Yeah, all this is pretty incredible when you really summarize the amount of progress that has been made, and over just the very recent, history. I mean, even if you look at just that, Kim took over this position in 2012. If you look at 7 years to unwind a system that has been around for thousands of years, right?
Right.
The amount of progress it made is incredible. It really is incredible.
What is as a as a system, right? What is it that needs to be removed? Is anything that is doing harm, right? So we're talking about doing no harm. So these systems that are out there, that they don't make any sense from a standpoint of helping. For example, let's just take banking, right? How do banks help you, right? In what way are they helping you? They're holding your money. They're charging you to hold the money, and then you pay your bills, right? This is what they've come out of. They're a source for paying bills, right? You put your money in so you could pay your bills. Is that what their intent was? When you think about what banking is supposed to be, it's supposed to lend money for you to do business, right? But they don't do that. My whole business career, that's never, ever been the case. Even though there was a time where I did get a loan, it was based upon my own money that was put in there to develop credit, because that's what they said. Listen, if you want to, if you're doing business, you might as well start getting into lending, right? So put up an asset, right? We'll borrow. You can borrow against your asset and get a loan, and you start paying us money. I said, oh, well, okay. That means, I have the cash to do it right now, but if I give it to you and then borrow against it, I'm now paying you, right? Okay, so I played that game. Not only did it charge me the interest, but the system of back and forth between like a savings account where money was at and the checking account. If there wasn't enough in the checking account, we would draw down from the savings account, which it would charge an effect, like a $30 fee to make that happen, right? Right? But, so they're going to do that, but then it would ping pong in the day, and those $30 charges would happen multiple times in a day. To where I added it up. I had an accountant at that time that was supposed to be overseeing these things, right? And should have alerted me to it. But when I went in and dug in, I found out I paid $13,000 in fees, bank fees, in 1 year, right? For this ping pong effect and the interest as well, which the interest was only a small portion of this. It was all fees. And then when I actually had a contract with orders, right, to fill, but I had to basically prepay for the product to be developed, to be manufactured, they wouldn't lend the money. And even though I had the orders in hand, signed contracts, they wouldn't lend the money. So it meant nothing. This whole exercise I went through. And at that point, I never trusted the banks for doing business as intended. I knew there was a problem, there. So they're set up to do harm.
Yeah, I mean, technically, when you deposit money into a bank, right, it technically becomes their possession, right? You're signing over your right to your money and allowing them to invest it for you, and do whatever. So we stopped investing in our local businesses. We stopped investing in ourselves, all the ways that we would take our money and put it to use to make more money or do whatever, right? To make our local communities better, because it's all about, putting money. And then they've convinced this generation, I interviewed this young woman who, she graduated with her MBA. She just graduated. And she started telling me how, look, if anybody's going to be right, it's very arrogant, right? Because they really taught them like to be arrogant. And she was like, if anybody's going to, be wealthy, it's going to involve the stock market. And I would challenge that. I mean, I don't think there's many people who really just made, investments as regular people and become rich. It's like 98% of all people who are wealthy is because they inherited it or from real estate, right? And then you have about 2% that, maybe invested in the tech boom and made some money, but it's not normal. It just doesn't happen. People don't really make money that way, right? It just kind of drives up over time, and you have just enough to kind of retire, and studies even show, like, if you would have just put your money in a regular savings account, usually it'd be almost the same.
Right. Right, exactly. And so these concepts of how you make money in the stock market. I in my very young business career, I did put money into the stock market. I listened. On one hand, I did some things on my own, and I did some things by following the brokerage, right? What they said, and each time it was a catastrophe. Right. I make it for a little bit, but in the end, it always came back around, and the market would crash or go down significantly. Now, of course, if you needed money at any point, if you want to wait for it to go back up, that's fine, right? You're going to wait 30 years, and supposedly you're going to win if you say, you put the same amount into a certain amount of stocks every month, dollar cost averaging, over time, no matter what, you're going to be on the winning side. For the most part, that would work out, except the whole market was designed to crash. So everyone who was on that, Trump now, he touts people's 401ks and everything are up 70%, right? Everyone's really happy, right? But it was designed to go the opposite direction. It's just because Trump is there. Everyone would have lost. So the system is basically set up as a scheme to remove your wealth, even the stock market. Right. So I don't believe it.
The whole idea is to take your real asset and give you a credit, right? Even now, it's so funny. It's like banks have they have credits, not even money, right? It's not even money. It's like they keep the money and the asset, right? Now they're trying to really use the paper asset as the asset, but it's not. Right. A dollar has always been a credit, right? It's a promissory note.
Right.
And
sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so now they're using that as their asset because they don't have control of the assets. That's one of the ways they're getting away with this, or not getting away, but part of the reason why you have some people so committed to the dinar, right? Now, I spoke directly to white hats who had already exchanged, right? They'd exchanged like 1 million dinar, right? And they got like, $800,000 back. They invested $1,000. That's great, right? So when you have people that are directly involved with the system who've already exchanged, it perpetuates the authenticity of everything taking place. And one of the things they would do is, I know at Rockefeller Center here in New York is where you have the I keep wanting to call it ISS, but OSS, but it's the shadow side of the CIA, right? That's where their headquarters are, right? So there was all these events at this big restaurant and hotel at the top of the rock, right? And then they'd come there and all be excited, and everybody would get to exchange, right, their whatever amount they'd have, and they'd get a black card, right? So for the weekend, they're balling, they're throwing money everywhere. But these black cards would always be billed as like, the answer to everything. But the idea with a black card is that you can pay it off every month, right? So they just keep fabricating credit. So for a month, they're getting away with it, but then the money doesn't come through. Those people still have to pay that black card, and their credit's destroyed. All right.
Right.
And and they're all waiting for their SKRs to go liquid. That's the kind of thing. And then what do? Very conveniently, because they've portrayed themselves as the benevolent Chinese elders, right? So it's like in our mind, it's like you have a bunch of Mr. Miyagi type guys walking around wearing like red robes, and they're so kind and wise that we just assume, what else could they do but have our best interest in mind? I mean, look how wise they are, right?
Right.
But the reality is,
how wise they are removing your value from you, anything that value.
Right. And it's I saw something from one of the old versions of the laws of the Illuminati, or and also repeats in the Masons. So it was some version of the Masonic order, and it was talking about waging relentless war on the world, just constantly waging war, right? And it was like one of their values, right? By waging, and from chaos comes order. And then I remember I had a project submission from this one group, and I was asked, and he was, and the broker who was in the middle was telling me, look, they're really good people. I've worked with them directly, and people always think because I know them, I know they're benevolent, right? And they trust their intuition on this because they've never seen them do anything wrong. It's like, well, that's kind of the mastery of being, a great psychopath actor, right? You study human emotion for a long period of time and you mimic it, right? So it's very easy, especially when you have no feelings about things one way or another, right? You don't care. Like, you don't care who you hurt, or so it's very easy to stay calm when other people are freaking out because you have no emotion about it, right?
Right.
And I remember they sent me like their 10 principles. They wanted $10 million to fund their organization, and in there was to wage relentless war against against the dark forces of the deep state. And I was like, no, you are the deep state. You just gave yourself away in that statement.
Yeah. Well, we don't have to wage war. We just have to build something different. Right. And theirs will basically die out. It's just a better system will win. You build a better mousetrap. Their system is based upon depletion, right? I mean, everything they're doing is about depleting us of energy, right? Even the poisoning of us is depleting us. We don't have energy to fight them. The mind control stuff, the numbing effect of the mind control, everything to keep us from rising up and doing anything against what they're doing to us. So if we build something where people are then being prosperous, everything they do, they're excited about. They get more energized. They start working with other people, start doing other things. The system will end up be the only one people are going to want to participate with. Even though the other system is still sitting there in its structure and everything is there, which we then are adapting and using, so we don't lose, the buildings and roadways and electrical plants and all these things. We unless something better comes along for each of them, right? But we will actually rise from the ashes or the crumbling structures. And build new and better things.
No, you remember that movie when we were kids called Willow? I feel like you'll know what I'm talking about. Remember Willow?
Yeah. I remember. Right. I do remember. I don't remember what it was about, but I remember seeing it. And what refresh my memory.
Yeah. So there's this little Hobbit type fellow, right? It was like they wanted to make Lord of the Rings, right? But before they got permission, they made Willow instead. So it's that kind of movie, right? But there's this great part, right? This magician, I guess supposed to be like Gandalf. He looks at Willow and he puts his hand up in front of him and spreads his fingers out and he says, "Which finger has the most power?" And so you see the little Willow guy. He points to one of the fingers and he says, "No." And then later he confesses. He says, "Well, when you asked me that question, what I wanted to say was my own." And he's like, "That's the right answer, right? Because that was the principle, right? Is that where the most power was in your own hand, right?" And that's how I feel about all of this constantly. And the only time I really feel frustrated is when I feel powerless, right? I think all of us feel that way at times, right? And Barbara Hanniger mentioned that because I call it generally apathy or indifference, and she made a great point. Really, apathy and indifference is just a defense for feeling powerless, right? You just kind of cop an attitude like, whatever, I don't care, not my problem, And that's all a result of us, being made impotent, so to speak. And sometimes literally, based on what they're trying to do. But they make us powerless to change. They make the situation seem so impossible that the idea of overcoming it just seems, like how could we ever get out of this is the way it is? Yeah. And so that makes us accept virtually anything, right? Because I was thinking about this, and obviously last night I was furious, right? I mean, and I was furious for 3 hours straight. Like before the call, we had a Zoom meeting, and I called it so we could record because I said I'm about to go off. So I had 3 hours to calm down before I even got on your call. And what I still just can't get this out of my mind about Elijah Cummings. The arrogance of these people to continue this facade is disgusting, right?
Right.
And just because really to sit there and have the audacity to attack people working the border on the scene. Now think about what's happening on the border. The Secretary of Intelligence for Guatemala, he just admitted this in an interview with Sarah Carter. He said, well, President Trump, he started to as like a penalty, he's restricting the amount of aid given to Guatemala. And he
Right.
said outright, he said, well, I don't blame him. I understand because, hardly any of the money ever gets to the people it's intended to help, right? Because on the way to the poor, it's got to go through it's got to go through, it's got to go through politicians who get their cut, and it's got to go through the Treasury that gets their cut, then the banks to get their cut, then all the corrupt police that are there, they get their cut, then the gangsters, right? They get their cut, right? And then by the time and the drug dealers and everybody else, who all the other people's got to be paid, and then whatever pittance is left over, it's not it's not really there for the impoverished, right? It's the reason why they're impoverished, because they keep getting aid from an outside source. So, if I apply that over and over again to all the different places that we apply aid and all these immobilizing programs that exist, essentially what happens is people think they're going to get help. And in the process, while they're dying, waiting for help to come, when it gets there, it's never what they needed.
Right. No, I agree. I always thought it would be a very good way to do foreign aid, because I've never been against foreign aid in principle, but in practice, the way it's handled, I never thought it really made a difference to the people that we want to help. So if we wanted to, one of the concepts of this foreign aid was in Central America, for example, was for the people there to build their own businesses so that they could then thrive and build an economy, and that would keep the people there, right? But it never made it that way. So I would think the best way to do foreign aid is through tourism. Anytime you want to basically designate a country for a certain amount of aid, right? You basically, figure the people that are going there for vacation, give them, a credit card with, $2,000 on it to just spend there, and it has to be spent in that country, right? on things. And so if you want to designate a country for foreign aid, you talk to your citizens, and you say, hey, we're going to help this country. Here's some cards. Go spend money there. That enforces people are going to be there interfacing with the people and spending money, right? So, and you can say you can also put limits on. Well, you can only spend this much on hotels, right? And the rest you have to spend on food and restaurants and tourism activities. All of a sudden, you have businesses being formed there to take advantage of this flow of money that's now available, and it never makes it into the hands of the governments at first, right? It makes it only into the hands of the people.
Well, it's definitely, I've been saying this for a year straight. The change comes, in my opinion, it's going to come from the people. Now, for it to come from the people, there has to be some level of power that the people yield. So you have to bring money in through the people. And I mean the real people, not. And so first you have to kind of set a new set of laws, right? So first of all, one of the first things that I would throw out the window is, okay, the first thing is we can no longer look at experience in the financial world, in banking, in investing, in hedge funds, in stocks, in bonds. We can no longer look at any of those qualifications as a reason to hire anyone or put anyone in a position to receive money. because all that does is say, look, you have been educated in a money laundering, self-cannibalizing system, right? That and you were excellent at it. You were excellent at creating a system that devoured the resources of the planet, allowed 1%, less than 1% of them to hold the assets and impoverish everyone else. That's not the model we're going with. So that has to be thrown out the window, right? That you have to create a model that allows, and rewards, innovation, new ideas that hits certain criteria that says, okay, this idea, it's going to provide real jobs, right, that are sustainable, that there's room to grow. It's going to provide jobs, just for young people who need experience. It's going like a combination of factors, right, that it's going to hit, and it's going to create real wealth where one income can support a family, and it's going to allow them to develop, and have their own money so they can, make their own business, or, there's a model where it allows them to contribute to make that company better and become part of and get rewarded for it and be part of what that company becomes, right? And that is, something that you really don't have, right? I mean, there's the haves and the have-nots, and most of the culture in the have-not community is largely under the belief system that, that doesn't happen to someone like me. Those opportunities aren't there for me. I can't do that. Most people aspire to very mediocre goals because they don't realize, that the people at the top are no more exceptional, and in many cases, less exceptional than they are.
I would say most of the time, the people that are in those higher positions are not exceptional at all. As it's because if they, it's like those. It's like that phrase. And forgive me, I know you're a teacher, but those who can do, and those that can't do, teach.
Sure.
Right. So the ones that end up in government and that are ones that were not able to basically have power out in the world by bringing together, people, or creating a business model that people want to participate in. They don't have any success in doing that, or they just can't comprehend how to make it work. They go into basically, well, I want power, so they get elected into positions, and then they go around not producing anything. No one in government produces anything. No, it's not.
Well, no, they form committees and subcommittees and have meetings to have meetings. But I will say this: I appreciate your point, but I will say that whole idea of those who can't teach is such a cabal psyops term, because what I would no,
Okay.
it really is. It really is. And I'm not defensive. I'm not defensive at all about it. I just want to clarify. But the reason why I mention it is because if you think about it, people who can do, right, they teach it. Now, the reason why you teach it is because you can remember about 50% of what you hear, right? Or 40%, it's low. And then about 80% of what you see and hear, right? Maybe 85% of what you, I don't know, see, hear, and do. But you remember 100% of what you teach, right? That's why people who innately teach things to other people, they become more they have a higher level of expertise because they're always teaching. Because
I agree with you. I'm actually teach quite a lot, right? So I understand the point. So I'm not against teachers.
I know you're not.
I just want to draw that one along the same lines as why do politicians go out? Because they can't do it. They can't make. They can't even teach. So.
They can't even. They have no desire to, right? But what they can do, what they're great at, is keeping secrets, right? So you're, in general, the people that, because I even thought about this recently, like, how do you get a position to run? Now, there's this anomaly out in Long Island of this woman who ran for an office in some small county. I guess she holds a seat in the, Congress somewhere, and I don't even know who she is. That's all. But I remember she had come to my house one time to like knock on the door. I mean, that's how, she was just a very humble woman. She had one thing she was running on. And it was one issue in that county, and that's all she ran on, right? Now, it's genius when you think about it, right? She just said, I'm going to get this done, right? And that's it. That's all she was concerned about. Right. And and she was about that area, right? And that's really, to me, actually makes more sense, right? Because then and then there's term limits. Josh Conway's big on this, talking about term limits. You set a term limit so that they're not. It's not a career that's held for 40 years, and your job is to basically oppose one side or the other for forever, right? Like, you're great at opposing this. We're going to reward you again by letting you win the election. And that's, I mean, look at like Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi. I mean, it's like they've been around since the 80s, right? Like, doing the same thing, and they're blaming President Trump for border security. Every single president has addressed our borders need to be secure. Our borders need to be secure. What has anyone done about it?
Right.
So,
right. Well, yeah, and it's just you can't. They just lie, and all they do is lie. And it's the only thing they know how to do. You said, like, keep secrets. Well, part of that is also lying. Right. So they keep secrets.
And this is why like Tui always goes back to the Jews know. Well, I would argue that, because at least modern Jews are educated by the rabbinical conclusions that are documented in the Talmud, right? And so they basically throw out all of the principles of the core principles of the Torah. They actually mock the Torah, and in the Talmud they tout that it's okay, right? It's okay to steal from, deceive, and cheat the goyim. So this is normal, right? It's okay to murder them. It's okay to molest their kids. It's okay to rape their kids, up until certain ages, right? Up until 3, and even their own kids until 3 years old, because they will have no memory of it. And, things like this are written all throughout their text, right? And modern interpretations there's no modern way to interpret that. It's like, at the core of your belief system, this is what you believe, right? Because it's not something that's written once. It's written, hundreds and hundreds of times. So when you look at things that way, and like, you're the chosen one, that as soon as if you are the chosen people, that means everyone else is not. Everyone else is not. So for the most part, Jews that are very devout, right, and really higher up, they've adopted these principles, right? Because so it justifies virtually anything, right? And you can see how this leads to Jewish mysticism, which is the Kabbalah, and that's where you get the Cabal, right? And so all these various politicians, you can see that regardless of their religious affiliation, they've adopted those same principles, right? It doesn't, it's the same things talked about in the Jesuit order. It's okay to intercept, into these, different cultures, because you're better than them. Take over their governments. There's no law that supersedes God's law. Now, that principle, I would say at the core, I agree with, but that goes back to the law of nature, right? Of what's natural. Now, they've done away. They basically were operating outside of karmic law for the longest time because of contractual, obligations that we made, that we signed over. So it's just amazing to me, because you see it all the time, right? Because when you see these politicians very sincere about something, that they've done nothing wrong, because in their values, they haven't done anything wrong. I mean, they believe what they're saying. Well, we haven't done anything wrong. And if they were to finish that thought, and what you could hear what they were thinking, they're probably saying, like, you're a bunch of, goy. It's like you're not, you don't have any value. Like, I can do whatever I want.
Right. So, well, they're since, how to say this, since they're setting up so that they anything they say is okay to do, right? So lying or anything else. So if you say to them, "Hey, does your text say that you want to, kill us, cheat us, steal from us?" They could say, "No, our text doesn't say that."
Right.
So it's okay because it says that they can do that.
Right. So it takes away our innate natural, our natural sense of trust with one another, right? Like, make a deal on a handshake and an agreement. that I trust you to do what you said, and because I trust you and you're going to do what you said, I'll do what I said, right?
Right.
Now, and as long as we understand that's always within the power that I have, So if I fall short, it's because I couldn't do it. But everything in my power, I'll do what I said I could do, right? Now, that's what I think is natural for us. And that's what we want to do, right? But because of these UCC laws and codes, and think of what they've done. Why did they create so many laws? Well, because we as humans are naturally law abiding, right?
Yeah.
So the laws are they took advantage of our nature. So they have become students of our nature, right? They've studied us so much that they understand in general we're going to abide by the laws, right? Because the penalty of being a prisoner is so terrifying. You know, I think when I was a kid, I got arrested in every county because I didn't pay an inspection ticket. So I got my license suspended. And even when I cleared it up in one county, I had to drive through 5 counties to get home. And over the course of like 2 months, I got arrested in every county every time I went home. I mean, like in each county by the time I got home. And I spent the night in jail for this inspection sticker. And when I would go in, they would take your shoes. So to this day, I can't stand to be anywhere without my shoes, because if I don't have my shoes on, I feel like I have to stay there. So I mean, it's so rare that I'm comfortable enough to be in the house like barefoot. I won't do it.
Well, if you're on a tropical island, you might give that up.
Well, look, I mean, but I think about that all the time. I'll know that I'm on the right path in my life's purpose when I'm comfortable enough to be barefoot in the house.
Well, it's just like I don't actually wear shoes too much. It's shoes and socks. I mean, it's mostly what they call here footwear, right? Which is anything but shoes. Sandals and flip flops and the like. But it's because everything is so it's very warm, right? It's the overall climate, so you minimize what you wear. I do have long sleeve shirts, but I rarely wear them unless I'm going to any kind of business meeting. I'll always wear shoes, socks, long pants, long sleeve shirt, sometimes short sleeve shirt if it's appropriate. What are you laughing for, too?
he's thinking that's why you always fall.
Yeah.
Well, I'm let's just say of the habit of dressing the part. Yeah, one way of.
When you come to Fiji, I will give you a sulu, and that's the traditional suit here in Fiji. We don't wear long pants. We wear. It has pockets and it's wrapped around your waist, and you
It's
like
a dress.
Kevin. Yeah, I like a dress, but it's like a
okay, I'll
skirt.
wear it. Now, are you supposed to wear underwear or not?
Of course, if you want. Yeah, I feel like I'm going to look ridiculous with my tan lines. It's going to be like, hey, I don't know if that's going to work. But, yeah.
It's gonna look really well on both of you. You will see when you come.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Hey, it's okay. Actually, I had a complete Indian wardrobe when I was spending a lot of time in India. I love the collarless dress shirts. The kind of just no collar at all, just kind of went like to this, and I actually had all my clothes were all tailored there, and but I had lots of Indian style. I had the Indian tuxedos as well. I had many of those, making me look like a Maharaja.
Hey Dan,
yeah.
Did you hear the letter that Kim received from the Galactic Council?
The letter what?
That Kim received from the Galactic Council.
No.
I guess maybe we should talk about it a little bit.
Okay.
Thomas Williams was actually it's you can find it on the chat room. Somebody has Brenda actually put it up on the chat room. If you can,
Sure, hey, Brenda, send it to me in Telegram. I'll put it up right away. I'll check. Maybe she already sent it to me. Not as of yet. I do a search. Oh, here it is. Yes. All right. It wasn't at the top of my list for some reason. The one thing about Telegram, sometimes I'm a little confused. Like, how do I get to people that sent me things? They're so far down on the list. I'll share that with everyone now. Okay, here we go. Okay. Letter from the Galactic Council to Kim, 13th of June, 2019. All of the timelines have now converged. This is the beginning of a new time. Pure time, unaltered by past. At approximately 5:01 Eastern Standard Time, the convergence was complete. There will be no longer memory of other timelines as you go forward. Change takes place only in the present. Evil beings trapped in the dimensional planes will be absorbed by the nothing and go forth into the darkness. Your strength will come from knowingness that this is the dawning of a new day. This is similar to your judgment day that you have had in your books. Do not be surprised to see many human lives fall away. This is because they were not human souls to begin with, but merely a mirror from another plane or some point in time. As each layer falls away, there will be a new sense of understanding among the general population of Earth. Congratulations. Since the dawn of creation, there has not been such unity and the oneness of all. We are proud to welcome you to the dawning of a new age, one full of possibilities of the Creator. Once again, in the ever expanding universe, no longer stifled by the darkness we all have felt for eons. King Anu has passed on as direct result of his misdeeds in the universe, and the earth will no longer be plagued by his insidious race of beings. His passing would have been around 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on June the 13th. The Matid Queen,
Yep.
who is far worse than Anu in many aspects, in my opinion anyway, has thrown down her arms in favor of a peaceful alliance with the Universal Council. You too will feel this change as the swift will come more apparent through the days. As the rightful heir to the throne granted by our Creator in his infinite wisdom, the king shall not rise again, but instead a queen will take his place to ensure no more suffering for his children. This is the word of the source of the Creator, the oneness that binds us all. You will see the sword of truth cut through all that has bound us as slaves. In time, all will reveal itself unto you. Lead the charge. Do not waver. We know the journey has been long, for your unwavering faith has led you to and turned us to this point. Thank you for having faith in us. Your leadership forward will be most welcome and critical. The probationary period is over, and the council welcomes you as a full member of the leadership committee. Wow. We've made it. Hooray.
It's kind of a big deal. So Tui, what are your thoughts on that? Not all at once, just whenever you feel like it.
He's muted.
Yeah.
He's running back to the iPad right now. He was chasing the rooster.
Well, that would explain why Kim has been busy.
That would kind of explain it. Well, this is the time. I'm glad we're not affected by, I guess, the karma of the past of those things, and the evil is going to fade into the nothingness, and that they are reflections of other times or other dimensions. All these evil beings. So we're going to see it all fade away, and so we're here on the front lines. Keep going.
Well, I'm curious what the Kim has said to me. Yeah, I mentioned this to her today, but I didn't get a response, and she might be too busy, or I don't know. But she mentioned a while back that when came to her sovereignty and people above her, that there was no one above her but Source, and those are different kind of conversations. So I don't fully understand, what Anu and his role, as far as as far as the indoctrination that has taken place and all the things that have happened exactly, or how another. It sounds to me like it's okay. Now this other group is going to rule over us, is what it sounds like to me. But that's, because there's going to be a new Anu queen, so I'm hoping I'm misinterpreting that.
Yeah, I didn't quite get about the queen. Like, who is this queen, and what is the purpose? The Matid queen, who is far worse than Anu in many aspects, in my opinion, anyway, has thrown down her arms in favor of a peaceful alliance with the Universal Council. So someone is not going to fight with the Universal Council, and Kim's on the Universal Council.
Well, yeah, they've. I do know Kim's had interactions with the Manta Queen before, and the Manta Queen was making a case for all that they've done for humanity, that they have the right to take all of our resources, and that's not true, obviously. And Kim argued that no, what you've done is you've divided us in every aspect of our being. You've even divided the hemispheres of our brains. You divided us by color, by race, by ethnicity, by fake religions. And you've allowed this to go on for years. So Kim stood up for humanity, and she won. That argument. But I know that was an ongoing issue, and I also have a relative understanding. The Mantids, they were the ones who were in control of the technology, right? They had the connections with all of the advanced tech that they would use to take over planets, and they would pair up with the Draconians, which I believe is Anu, right? The Anunnaki.
Right.
And so in this, they would pair up, and the Anunnaki were experts in warfare, and the two together have been the scourge of the universe for, millennia.
The funny thing is, when I'm looking at Mantid Queen, I keep getting Worlds of Warcraft relationships, like definitions of what the Mantid Queen is.
Yeah. Well, so I know that that's not the case. At the end of the day, no, but this is two different. But it's referring to two different queens, by the way. It's talking about the Queen of the Mantis, because that represented the Mantis, and they paired up with the Anu or the Draconian, and so the Draconian, right, or the Anu or King Anu, I guess, right, like he's been removed. So if he's been removed, they're saying that a different Draconian or a different member of the Anunnaki, I guess, will become the queen. So that's not referring to the same person, is what I'm trying to say. So I don't know who that would be. If it was, you know,
Right.
what I first thought was it was Thomas was referring to Kim, you know, but I don't know. I mean, it wouldn't make sense to me, but I was just trying to figure it out. So I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm not. Hey, Tui, are you back yet?
I heard the roosters.
I'm back.
Hey,
Tui.
who is the Manted Queen?
Oh, the mental queen is the a collective mind for the the Mantis people. Just like how we have what you call the
Kind of a hive mind.
yeah. It's just like us. It's just like we have the same thing here, but we're still not connected to it. They come, so their queen is a hive mind from a different probability of our planet, and so they finally realize that we have the potential to be sovereign on our own. We don't need any more help from them, and we can stand on our own, on our own sovereignty and balance planet if we're given the chance.
So this gives humanity basically a seat at the table for the Galactic Council, really.
Yes, because in the Galactic Council, only sovereign simply means that you're connected to the fifth element that is on the planet or whatever timeline that probability may be. Every DNA that exists on the planet right now, if right now, because there's a lot of us that are connected in unity, um, we are able to actually control the timelines on our own by realizing the essence of who we are and the spiritual connection that we have to the whole planet through time. And so by doing those, and we are getting rid of all the negative experience of the past. And so that's how new reality is created. That's the experiences that we are creating right now in our mind and what we're doing. So then thank our discussion and everyone on the show, everyone around the planet that's already awake. That's part of the frequency of the new agreement or the new procreation that we're doing. It is they already understand the probability of this path that we're taking, and so now they understand that we are already connected to the higher probability of galactic, not just galactic but also the solar system. And so yeah, a lot of healing that we're doing. You guys discussing it on air and all these things that you do, it's all healing the negative experiences everyone having on the planet, and that's how simple it is. We just have to bring it out, talk about it, and we think about it, and think of a solution, and we create a new reality. And that's how powerful we are when we truly realize who we are. And we're not just being controlled and just going with the flow in the way we used to in the past, is relying on someone higher than you to come and give you and instruct you on what to do. Now we're actually taking responsibility of every thought, of every problems that we already face, and we heal it. And so even just by thinking and reading about it, the more we do that, the more we bring it out, the more healing it will happen that will happen on our timeline. And so the queen is fine. So the Manted Queen, because they are related to us in DNA, that's in probability, they are in time. That's why they understood that we are able to actually stand on our own, and so that's part of the Galactic Council, which is part of the RA agreement, the RA Confederacy agreement that came here, that we represent, that came here long ago, and we're actually fulfilling that as we do this.
Okay.
Okay. So it's not anything to do with like a praying mantis.
Well, they are. They do look like that.
The Manted Queen is in his her physical expression would be like an ant, like the family of the praying mantis, and because that's the DNA that and all these DNA agreement. They're actually part of us. That's why you can see them. That's why they are bugs in your life.
So how
so
tall is the mantis queen? Mantis queen. How tall is it?
In spiritual energy, they're just the same as you, but much more connected to the collective mind of their. Because they all think the same. If you're talking to one, you'll be talking to everyone. So for us here, it's a little bit different because we have secrets. In their timeline, they don't have secrets anymore. It's like the whole network of Facebook. Everyone is on Facebook.
Right. The Borg.
And so for them, the physical expression will be much bigger. It will be about 8 to 10 feet. If 10 to 10 feet, looking like humans, but much longer arms, and the eyes, and you have the mantis fetus, like a praying mantis fetus. So that's physically.
Isn't there a portal to the mantis world in Cambodia, and that's where you have.
Yes. Yeah, that's the reason why we signed the treaties, because they are portals to all different timelines. That's because we are related. Our DNA is just the same. That's why they are here in our. You don't have to go there and see them. They are all around you. They are all mantis. They are the bees. They are all these different frequencies of themselves, which are just here guiding us and teaching us about love. And so they're just a little bit more advanced than us, because they are already united collectively. We are just like a child to them, growing up, trying to learn how to become and work together in unity. And so they can see the probability growing and becoming more in the area, because a lot of the galactic civilization, if you call them, or different timelines that they come from, they all have the same thing. They are all. Some of them don't have, don't even have sexes like us. Some of them have more sexes. Some of them, and so that's what they can see in our timeline and probability. So they are happy. And the problem is they don't have emotions like. To talk to some of them, and they don't even know why I'm laughing. And it's funny. So I laughed at them, and they asked me, "What are you?" And you see what I'm doing. Can't you see it in my mind? Because they see in a different way of the way we think. They see that, and so when I was laughing in the spiritual aspect, they don't know what humor is. And some of eventually they understood. As we started talking, and then started realizing that it's part of my collective awareness, which is my whole body. That's how I express. That's how we express ourselves in a collective individual, and then eventually we'll become united the same way they are. And so, yeah. They're giving up because they understand that we can do that. We are already having. There's so many people that are already in the awareness, already understand who they are. We just have to accelerate it a little bit more faster. But as you had read in the letter, the timeline has already merged, and the more we heal it, the more merge, the more we make it more stronger, and the more we can we can create a new future together. And so, yeah, it's truly true. It's quite hard, in the past for a Fijian guy like me talking to you guys like this and talking about this stuff. Now we talk about, it just like anything, like it doesn't mean a lot. It shows that awareness of the people of the planet is already aware. and they don't look at what we say and, oh, what are they talking about? Are they talking, like, in the beginning of the show, we used to use that word red pill. Now it's no longer a red pill anymore, because we have adapted to the spiritual freedom that we are. That everything we talk about is it doesn't affect us. We
But
are
Tui,
yes.
but does the Prime Minister of Fiji does he still need more red pills?
Oh yes, of course. That's part of my role to give them as many red pills as they can. I know he can process it, but I need them to understand how to be free spiritually, and how the mind is actually the creator of every thought, every awareness that you have, and it's not to dictate your reality, and it affects you, and you get angry as soon as you hear something that might be offending to you, or someone might offend you. If you're doing that, then you're still not fully sovereign. Truly sovereign beings, they understand every experience as a gift, as part of a bigger collective awareness in the future and also in the past, and they can put it together in that way. And so a lot of them will have to learn that, because it cannot be taught, but you will learn, before you die on this planet, you'll be able to learn that the wisdom you gain is through the experience that you've gone through, and ultimately we'll be able to create an environment that don't limit anyone on their experiences, and we can enlighten everyone in that way in a very accelerated manner. And so that's part of the project that I'm doing right now. That even without funding, people are waking up. 2,000 people within a few months, fully free. Like indoctrination already been deprogrammed, already been reconstructed through the mind, and they do it themselves. I didn't do that. I didn't do anything. They just it's just time. The frequency of the planet is already increasing. It's just time that people can have this fully understand. I mean, people have this understanding in that way. In the past 10 years ago, if we talk about this, that's no one will be able to understand it, and people will think we are crazy. But now, it's not a hidden thing. So yeah, it's not just us that are doing it. Even the cabal is part of the change as well. We'll be learning a lot of lesson from them. They will be learning a lot of lesson from us. But it's all part of the lesson of love that we all are part of. We all playing together. And so in the future, we'll realize there's no separation. All the failures that we have, all this fighting of stopping the money, and all these are just childish games of the past. We are part of the same collective mind, and we should just realize that and work together. And so even if they're listening now, they should understand it. And this fighting, this illusion of separation is just prolonging the lesson of love that we have to learn. So yep. The queen is right. We are in that moment, in that time, that we have to move forward. But I'm thankful that you've read and we've taken the conversation in that part. I think it needs to be addressed, and we need to talk about it. And thank you so much, Branda. Thank you, everyone on the chat room. Thank you, everyone that's listening in live and also in the future. Thank you so much, Dan. Thank for your time and for all the work of love that you guys been doing. Thank you, everyone, wherever you are in the planet, whatever you're going to be doing now or in the future. Much love and blessing to you from Fiji.
Love and blessings from the Philippines. Are we over?
I think so, man. I think we got to digest that a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds
Thanks,
good.
man.
Well, thank you, Tui. Thanks, Stank. And we'll be back tomorrow. I'll be sure. I want to also point out that we're going to have a simulcast on Thursday with Juanita Headley on the human trafficking and sexual abuse. She'll be here in my home. We're going to run both channels simultaneously on that day. They'll both be a different camera angle, but both the same broadcast. So you can choose
Nice.
either one of them. Yeah, I think that's a good way to go about that. And I'll have to put out the other link. I only made one link before, but that just came to me earlier today. It would be good to handle it that way. We roll with it, right?
Yeah. Rather than just sitting there on the other side of the room, we can just, we can just do it at the same time.
Right? We'll just have 2 camera angles.
2 channel angles.
Yeah, we can use we should use Zoom for that, Dan.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, great. We could. Well, then I'd have to make new links. So it's just one link. I guess we could do one Zoom link and one Hangouts link, because she's already got. I'll talk with her, see if she actually promoted it yet or not. But then I'll give her a call. I'll get back.
Indeed.
To tank on that. And
Cool.
Congratulations to everyone. We're free from all of that past stuff. Free to make our own new reality and abundance-based system. So let's go.
Peace.
All right. Peace out from New York. Have a good night, guys. Thanks, Dan. Thanks,
Bye-bye.